All right, click the links and you'll have clicked the links. So this show, She-Hulk, a show that I hope you never watch because you can see about 5 minutes of it, and you couldn't possibly judge the show by 5 minutes. All right, if you don't, okay, then by all means, please watch 5 minutes of it, and then watch the rest. And you're right, you really can judge a show by the first 5 minutes. With Disney in this present Weimar situation, yeah, you absolutely can. So people are going like, the show jumped the shark. And it's just kind of an awkward phrase because it's like, how does it jump the shark? It just like right from the beginning. So one of the signs of desperations of a show was at the end of the show they would do a bunch of, as the series is winding down, they do guest appearances, get people on there, try to get a few more eyeballs to stretch things out a little bit, or they'll bring on like new cute little kids, and that'll carry the show for another couple of years. But it's always they repeatedly do the same thing. This is kind of back in the 80s, and in retrospect, I look back at the shows because I look at stuff people watch now. I think, is like the entire country disabled? I mean, did the entire country have cognitive issues to the point where you see stuff on TV and like, there's no way, how do people watch this? But apparently they do, because I mean, the show's like, they're not paid for. I mean, they're paid for out of something. So it's like, apparently is a large segment of the population to the left of the bell curve who still enjoys watching. I mean, like, Disney's got no shortage of people who are subscribing to watch this kind of stuff. It's disheartening to look at this stuff and realize, oh, people pay for this and watch it. Oh dear God, we're in. So like, you share a country with people who, when the Kardashians came on like 15 years ago, that should have been the big indicator. Anyway, so they do things like guest appearances or cute little kids to extend the show. But this phrase, jump the shark, is kind of undeserved, because it was Henry Winkler and Ron Howard and a bunch of other people went on from Robin Williams, I think, was on the show. They went on to actually do a bunch of other stuff, but it didn't come at the end of the series. I think the series went on for 9 or 10 years, and it was one bad episode within a series. It was only like year 4 or 5, and it went on for twice that. So it's like, as a hit show, it was, I don't even remember the name of Happy Days. It was a show in the 70s, but I think it was set in the 50s. And, you watch it now, you're like, I don't get any of this kind of stuff. But, it's funny. You can watch this stuff now, and you can kind of see the Bolshevik propaganda even back then. And that was before they really took the mask off. Like, the stuff now is, I keep saying peak Weimar in the hopes that people will kind of look that phrase up. Anyway. So at least in regards to Happy Days, it was kind of an undeserved. He did one episode where the actor Henry Winkler, knew how to water ski pretty well. So they did a scene where he's water skiing behind a boat, and he could do it because he didn't look like a complete amateur. And supposedly, they were supposed to jump over a shark or something. It was just one bad episode, but it became known, at least I guess people probably don't use that phrase anymore. Became known in the kind of the 90s. Or the late 90s and 2000s as something that was at the end of a series, but it wasn't. It went on for another 4 or 5 years. This is different. This is like, you got guest appearances right from the start. When are they going to bring in a cute kid? In the old 80s shows, they would bring in like a cute little blonde kid with a bowl haircut. Somehow I suspect that's not going to happen nowadays. Megan Thee Stallion, as someone points out in the comments, obviously I couldn't tell you one of her songs. A stallion's a male horse. So, like, what Megan the Mare would have been I'm not quite sure why she said stallion. And it's a little bit weird. It's like, what's that song? The guy's singing about the king bee. It's like, I don't think you understand the bee hierarchy. It's a queen. It's the queen, not the king. There's no king bee. Anyway, so I was kind of thinking, like, our guest appearances, and it got me, like, all this stuff. Nostalgia trip is you go back and watch Gilligan's Island. You can find all this stuff online. Get yourself a couple of external hard drives and just, get all this stuff on Odyssey, and you never have to watch anything. But this nostalgia tripping, like Gilligan's Island, is like, that's a really dumb show, right? Yeah, for sure. No argument. But it's so sweet now to watch that kind of stuff compared to anything that's on now, because everything that's on now is like, oh, this is just open in your face, cultural Bolshevism. It's like there's no in comparison to even something as stupid as, I don't know, the Partridge Family from the 70s, it looks like Shakespeare in comparison to something like this, which is rah rah girl power. So you got like a guest episode in the second you're in the first year, and you've already got guest episodes. Anyway, so I was thinking about these guest appearances. I know there's another phrase for that, but I forgot I know there's what do you call it when the guest makes an appearance? There's a phrase for that. And if you know the phrase, I do have a Halloween book to give away. If you get that phrase correct, I guess I can mail you this Halloween book by Ray Bradbury. I'm looking on the shelf for it. I don't see it. Is it a sign of desperation? Now, here's the thing. Celebrities don't have the same star power that they used to because there's just so many nowadays. It dilutes the fame. I mean, you've got, the whole YouTube segment, and then there's like the whole Twitch segment, and then there's people in the alt community on, like Cozy and Shing and Odyssey and Bit Chute, and there's like a bunch of those kind of, like, they're famous in their own little community. So things are kind of different because you got social media. The bar to be a celebrity is different. Yeah, there's like Andy Warhol's 15 minutes of fame. Yeah, it's just not, the fame is going to kind of have a different definition nowadays. I mean, it's not always going to come with money. Anyway, so in the 80s, it meant way, way more because there weren't so many distractions in the 80s. And yeah, it was like things were better then because things were a bigger deal. Like a concert was a big deal. Even going to a movie was a big deal simply because, like, there weren't things to take your mind away from where you were at that minute, where, like, people go to concerts now and, like, the joke is, oh, they're on their cell phones, and yeah, you're not really I guess if you're recording the concert, it's kind of, or live stream is something, it's something, but it's like, yeah, it's like, you're not really, people are different now. They're just not in the, there was, it's like a sci-fi was talking about the equivalent of cell phones back in like the 40s and 50s and what it would do to people. And it's funny to see, like, oh, a lot of that came true. Anyway, so I was thinking about The Simple Life with Paris Hilton. Kind of changed the game for broadcasting. It made it possible for the puppet masters to create something out of nothing. And you can insert the fractional reserve banking joke in there. If you could, you got to be more clever than me to find a way to work that in there. So they got rid of blonde Paris Hilton. And they got brown-ish Kim Kardashian and her family. They were able to create a multi-billion-dollar empire out of nothingness. I mean, look what it did to the family. The two guys in the show had things a little bit rough, but they brought in billions of dollars for their own personal empire. Or it might have been the MTV reality show. I think it was called. It was set in San Francisco. The Real Life or something, back, I think that was in the 80s. That might have started it off because it went up, it got the concept rolling of using non-actors in a semi-scripted show. Thing is, they probably are actors, they've probably done some stuff before, or they want to go into acting. I mean, you're not going to find people who are just have no interest in the entertainment field at all. But the thing is, they were hired. They weren't hired as actors. Probably, I've heard rumors that it was to avoid the Film Actors Guild. They've got requirements for payments and I don't know, probably safety requirements too, and residuals and working hours and all that kind of stuff. So if you're hiring people who are not part of the guild, it might be a little bit different. And yes, that was a South Park joke. So but it also kind of morphed from what was legitimately less scripted at the beginning to, it's like all the stuff is just scripted now. But it's scripted with people who are not that good at acting, and the sets are a little bit lower budget. So it's like you got the worst of both worlds, but people seem to enjoy it. And the thing is, if you look at who watches TV in general, it seems like the people who are watching it and enjoying it are all mentally ill alcoholics. That's the only thing that I can understand that would fit in my worldview of why you'd watch these kind of Kardashian level shows. It's not maybe there's Mutual of Omaha educational programs out there, but I think even in Mutual of Omaha, like the big game would probably be trans now, or there'd be electron pronouns or something. TV seems like it's punishment for people who hate themselves. The older I get, I understand how evil TV is. It's weird that a nation pays to kind of get its kids brainwashed from a real early age into globalism. And if you think it's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, Blue's Clues is some Cartoon Network kids show. They got a BLT beaver who removed her mammary glands and has the scars on. That's what they're showing your kids. They're just reflecting the world we live in. No, friends. They're creating the world. So, it's the most powerful propaganda force on Earth, and there isn't much research into who is making these shows. What are they? What are their motives? What are their biases? Where does the money flow? Who does it flow to? How effective, from like a psychosocial standpoint, is TV and movies at changing people's beliefs and behavior? And as it turns out, it's remarkably effective. That's why I just said it's the most powerful propaganda machine on Earth, and people have had it in their living rooms and now in every room of the house via tablets since, I don't know, 1950s pretty much. Anyway, so people watch TV, but would be much better off, better use of time to study the people that control the narrative. There's a book, I think, Eulogy on Advertising, that was written in the 70s or 80s, how advertising manipulates people. It's fascinating to look behind the curtain. It's like you don't look at any of this stuff the same way once you look behind the screen. And I look back now at the, and I realize, like, we would have been better off without any TV at all. It's weird that people allowed such filthy propaganda into their children's lives without even thinking about the damage it was doing, or if they saw something they objected to not simply make the decision, oh, we got to get rid of the TV. We can't even have it in the house. We're just going to have to, we're going to have to move on from TV. It's like very few people did that. And now I look back and realize, oh, just all the respect in the world for people who might have done that and got rid of this electronic political commissar. In like the 1984 scene where the TV is watching you back, it's probably not that far off. So this, and especially with tablets with front-facing cameras and microphones, and then Google and Siri and Alexa and all that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, we're really, really close to making this. Oh, no. You, as part of your condition to be a citizen, you have to have this in your house, and it has to be on. Oh, so like the Google, Siri, and Alexa will come with cameras now, and I don't know, it could be attached to the Roomba so it can walk around the house following you or something. It's like, yeah, that's a condition of being a citizen now. You have to have these. Like, oh, so you, like, 1984 is a guidebook. Yeah, you really should read 1984. It's a fun book, but you read this stuff and go, oh, I can't believe they're actually doing this. You look around, put on the nightmare glasses. Oh, everything's exactly the same. They Live's another great movie. I watched that movie, like, I don't know, every few months I'll go back and watch a little bit of They Live just to kind of get it in my head. And it's a real eye-opener. So the stuff now is even worse, and the left wing is 100% on board with it, which honestly is disappointing. And it's weird that, like, the right wing, the further right wing now, has more in common with the left wing, at least in some libertarian liberal aspects of the pre-90s left wing, than the left wing has in common with the left wing. Because the left wing has been completely subverted by this corporate machine, and they're absolutely happy on board with it. Even as late as the 90s, they knew the media was this corporate thing. The old left wing would not understand how the modern left is so completely brainwashed by corporate Hollywood. They were the generation of the kill your TV generation. That was a left wing value because they knew what propaganda was. Their grandkids are learning twerking from drag queens on Netflix, Amazon, and Disney. Get in focus. It's probably time for a new camera. Maybe a new used camera. Those things are expensive. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all next episode.